I'm going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. I saw some chatter that Barry Morphew set up Sunset Farms without Suzanne's knowledge. This can't be true, so I think chatter like that should be nipped in the bud, gossip starting. She didn't even know that he was using her name and identity to manipulate funds or to do whatever his nefarious business practices were, right? On Suzanne's LinkedIn, which right back in June 2020, when I saw it first, had Sunset Farms on it. It shows she's aware of Sunset Farms. She's using this on her LinkedIn, the LinkedIn where she only allowed one person to connect with her. That's Jeff Libler. She's aware of Sunset Farms. Sure, I'm not sure if it means she's aware of all that Barry Morphew might have intended to do with Sunset Farms, but she's not in the dark about it. She uses it herself, and that's indisputable. This is 3 years ago. The first contact that she has on, or the first, sorry, I've had a migraine headache for about 2 weeks and I'm really struggling right now, but please forgive me for being so scattered. I'll try and get this out. The first post that she puts on her page, LinkedIn page, is a post about senior executives, women executives at a company called Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly being the company where Jeff Libler had been for 20 years. He'd worked his way up to being a senior executive account specialist. This is her very first post. And she has one person that she's accepted as a connection, and this is Jeff Libler. And it's interesting to go through because there are 3 people I'd like to know more about in terms of what might they know. These people are Candice Carr, Jennifer Tribby, and Megan Cooper. Megan Cooper of a fitness place in Minneapolis. I just found that really interesting. Look, working from more recent, from the time that Suzanne went missing, down back to Eli Lilly post, there was a post about the Deutsche Bank and bloodletting, which is very bizarre. Suzanne liked a post about the happiest person on the plane. So about travel, but it was about, from what I can gather, a bit more about, well, it's not necessarily the person in first class. First class doesn't mean happy. And, we have the comments to Sheila, her friend that she was confiding in. Not wholly, of course. There's just the 50% of the truth going in any direction. Sheila, whom she confided in more than her sister. She had said, I'd rather be living in a shack, Although she chose that home because they'd stayed there as an Airbnb guest, they'd stayed there as guests, and they wanted to move to Colorado to be near Mallory. They needed to live somewhere, right? But she's more expressing, what real happiness is about, and it's about, doesn't mean, material possessions. I still think, though, that Suzanne was still someone that liked nice things and freedom to do certain things. And she did exercise a lot of freedom. She had lots of trips around where she was seeing her lover. So the next one is something about a book, Trust First by Bruce Deal. And actually, this is more about giving people trust before they earn it. When you actually are whole or open-hearted and show people trust, it's amazing what more you can get back, rather than just treating everybody as if they're scum and going to rip you off. From what I can gather, I haven't really looked into it, but it's about creating, this trusting environment. He hired prostitutes and things to babysit his children, for example, right? Anyway, that's just one of the things that she posted up. Then she posted up, it's never too late to find your purpose. And I think that was the post that had the sunflowers, or, the vase with the flowers in it. Another Colorado Springs business article. There was a repost about a plane, some man talking on a plane, how he was sort of at first ignoring an old lady who was trying to get his attention, and then she started to talk to him about a friend who had died of pancreatic cancer, and how they had a nice 25 minutes chat. And then there was a post about the Academy of Sports quiz. She posted her response that she got an answer correct to a question about, which is the electrolyte. The answer was potassium. It's an electrolyte. The next post was, you cannot change other people, just how you react to them. Number 9 was one of a small amount of posts she put up from company Biomedicine Holistic Health. The quote from there being, regret for time wasted is more wasted time. Then she liked to post about tax brackets. Low tax bracket equals low refund. And that was an article she liked. And then another Biomedicine Holistic Health article about quinoa, eating quinoa, and 50 recipes. And you've got to remember, this is all, she's posting these things to communicate to Jeff Libler. Colorado Springs business, something about the food supply being tainted, and something about research and development. And then, Eli Lilly's post, their article about female senior executives. But there's very little interaction on Suzanne's actual posts. You'd think only her connection could post, right? But on the article about the city of Colorado Springs hiring a strategic planner, Jeff, the little J in the circle, no avatar, just the J, just like Suzanne didn't have her picture, of course. Jeff liked it, and so did Candace Carr, and so did Jennifer Tribby. Candace Carr is a CEO of some place in Sedona. I don't know, I just found it interesting, these other people on there. And I did also wonder, who is Megan Cooper, this woman in Indianapolis, the fitness woman? But it just beggars belief, doesn't it? It beggars belief that Chaffey County Sheriff's Office could not find Jeff Libler. A simple search. You know, and how many of us wish to the heavens that we had contacted CCSO immediately saying, oh, you did see the LinkedIn page, right? You see this guy on here, right? Because they're looking for 6 months for this guy that is right there in their face. Jeff Libler, right there in their face on Suzanne Morphew's LinkedIn page, the page she is using to contact him. And was she trying to get him to come and live in Colorado Springs? You know, I don't think she wanted to move out of Colorado. I think she quite liked it there. It's beautiful. Why wouldn't you? I do think she wanted to live in Salida. And I do suspect she wanted her lover to move closer. The thing is, I don't think Suzanne had very good taste. Jeff Libler had dissed her before. He didn't fight for her the first time. He just discarded her. The little weasel, the little girl's blowers, begging Barry Morphew not to beat him up. Don't worry, she's nothing to me. She's nothing to me. She's not even worth you beating my little... I look like one of the 7 dwarfs. In my opinion, he looks like one of the 7 dwarfs. He's not attractive. You know, don't hit me, Barry Morphew. Sure, I'm not fighting for Suzanne. Hey, you have her. No, she's yours. And then she's worthy of having an affair with, of ruining maybe her marriage with, right? Now, you can all say, oh, he isolated her and things went downhill in Colorado. Things were going downhill in Colorado, possibly because Suzanne was putting all her energy into the affair with Jeff. It escalated. She was outside of the marriage. It was escalating. While in Colorado, she saw her lover several times, was physical with him, on holidays with him several times. Sometimes when she said she was visiting her elderly father, and she wasn't. She was with Jeff in New Orleans and thereabouts, right? And she, for some reason, thought he was going to leave his family for her, right? He couldn't even come forward after her disappearance and what was probably her murder, right? I'm saying right back then, he would have thought, shit, this is bad. The woman that I've been with is dead. She meant nothing to him again. This guy's a weasel. And I can't stand the hypocrisy, right? People that they put Barry Morphew on blast. And look, if he is a domestic violence abuser, fair fucking enough, right? But where does this hypocrisy, what gives you the, why are you such hypocrites? Why do you laud Jeffrey Puckett, a domestic violence perpetrator, a domestic abuse perpetrator? You think he's funny. You like him because he's kind of, supporting what you want to believe and the outcome you want, you think, right? People that are untrustworthy, people that are not good witnesses aren't supporting your cause. Morgan Gentile is not a good witness. She's unreliable. She's a liar. Jeffrey Puckett, why can you even give this, in my opinion, this shithead the time of day? It's so hypocritical. And, you don't see it with regards to Suzanne and her affair as well. She's just poor Suzanne, she's having the affair. She's a hypocrite. She's lying to everybody in her life. And she's gaslighting people. And she's saying, oh, Barry keeps asking me about, how dare he ask me about an affair? And, and he won't own up to an affair, and I keep asking him. She was probably trying to find proof of something for the divorce courts, right? And when she herself is the one that is being unfaithful. Even people who have been with horrible people that you'd be so embarrassed about come forward in these times, right? They come out of the woodwork and they tell their story and they sell their story and they're star witnesses. There would be people coming out of the woodwork about Barry Morphew and having affairs with him. But where are they, right? Oh, apparently had an affair with someone who's conveniently dead. Now that sounds dark and I don't mean it like that, but come on. Apparently the person that you all say you did have an affair with died of cancer, so she can't come forward. But if it's this constant string of people, someone would have come forward. Even a liar would have come forward. Even someone who do you know what I mean? Like, it's not adding up. But we know for a fact Suzanne Morphew was screwing around. And there was no way, in my mind, Jeff Libler was going to leave his wife and family for Suzanne. It probably frightened him when he started realizing she took him seriously about marriage. He didn't fight for her before. He wasn't going to do it now, right? He just dumped her like a hot coal. He could have changed the course of the investigation. He knew immediately what would have been happening. Of course he did. He would have known that Suzanne was missing very quickly. And he should have made a phone call. And he didn't. But can you even comprehend the investigators not finding out about Jeff and it taking 6 months to find him when he's right there in front of our faces? I mean, I feel like a fool, but it's a learning curve, right? You need to trust yourself and trust your eyes. Every month that goes by, there's more and more to learn, you know. And I feel really bad for not ringing Chaffey County Sheriff's Office and saying, I just want to make sure you're looking into this, right? And I didn't. And I made the assumptions, and just like you assume that, you know, investigators were right down there in Broomfield, straight away getting that footage. We find out it's 3 weeks later. So, of course, they can recover nothing that was thrown away by Barry Morphew in Broomfield. Repulsive, right? To not definitively know one way or another when there was the opportunity to do so. It's just so frustrating. Yeah. So I don't rate Jeff Libler at all. No, he wasn't a good catch. No, he wasn't a better man. Someone like that, wow, you know, very happy to betray his wife, very happy to be with a married woman. Hey, you know, married woman, a bit more safe, aren't they, than having an affair with maybe a single woman or even a younger woman who might get pregnant. I wonder how many affairs Jeff had over the years. Was Suzanne Morphew his first affair? Did he get a kick out of getting one over on Barry after all those years, after that humiliation on the golf course and losing out back then? I mean, he didn't try to win, did he? He just slunk off, just like he did 2 years ago. He just slunk off, slunk away. Yeah. Yeah, I just can't respect hypocrisy. It doesn't, see, you don't have to make excuses for Suzanne and her affair. Oh, she's suffering. Oh, she's so unhappy. She was unloved. You don't fix feeling unloved in your marriage by going outside of the marriage. If you want to be more loved, yeah. I mean, look, I can see, I'm not dense. I know how boring Barry Morphew is, he's the antithesis of anybody I would be with. Suzanne Morphew, when she was Suzanne Morphew, was young when she got together with him. She had been through struggles, and Barry was there for her, and that sort of, maybe that alpha caveman sort of confidence and everything instilled confidence in her about her future, and when you're young like that and you don't really know what's important sometimes, yeah, what a nightmare not being able to talk and not having someone witty and intelligent and layered, but what was the answer? Was the answer to have this clandestine affair with a married man that you just are denying to other people? They think you're an angel. They think you're clean as a whistle, right? And every word out of your mouth is a lie. It's a fabrication. She's not telling people the truth of her world. She's not being honest about who she is and what she's doing. They couldn't really give her any decent advice, right? She's being a complete hypocrite. And this is just, I guess this is part of human nature. A memoir, it's not the truth. It's someone telling you what they want you to know. It's a manipulation, in a sense, right? A biography will be less, a biography at least will be a bit more factual, but it's limited as well. This is a mess. I'm really struggling to think here. But I just can't make allowances for Jeffrey Puckett. Why he's given a platform, I don't know. He's an abuser. He's not a reliable witness, nor is Morgan Gentile. And let's not forget that this is the person that was, a while back, she was Barry's baby daddy, wasn't she? Right? But now it suits everyone. She's a star witness and everything she says is believed, even though, this is the thing. This is why I got so frustrated, because I try to say, hold on a minute. Sure, create what you think might have happened. It's good to try and work out a theory, but you need to drop the fact that the bobcat was in Broomfield. There's no proof of that. It clearly wasn't there. But okay, that's just constantly shouted down. And then what's used is, things like Morgan not getting paid. And when you try to say, I don't think that's the case, shouted down. Well, what comes out? Yes, sure, she was paid. What she might not have gotten was some sort of severance package, perhaps. Perhaps she tried to say, well, if you're firing me, where is my severance package? Well, as some sort of contract worker like that, she can be fired on the spot. They don't owe it to her. And maybe, yeah, she did need it explained to her that, and if we give you a lump sum as some sort of severance package, it will look like some sort of payment. That they're absolutely right. It would have. And she probably wasn't entitled to any more money other than an hourly rate and whatever else loading. I don't know whether superannuation is paid, whatever, is paid, tooling allowance, whatever. That's all she was entitled to. And she got that money by cheque from Sunset Farms, same as Jeff Puckett, same as, was it Cassidy Cordova? She's an unreliable witness about hearing this truck. Again, from the time of hearing that, I've said, excuse me, we know where the flat is that she lived in at the time. We know it's right on a highway with the car park outside the brick wall of her home. She never looked out the window. This could have been any old truck. First it was idling outside, then it was just driving past. The times changed. It's like it changed. Excuse me, this is unreliable. But people are insisting on it, and they're making up their theories based on it. Finally, it comes out. It's all baloney. But, people waste time and energy for a year or more on things that are meaningless because they're not true, they're not correct. But they think it serves their purpose, so they want to hold on to it. Someone can be guilty, without falsities being part of it. What's the point of using false information? It's so pointless and exhausting. I sometimes think people get some sort of sexual charge from saying these inflammatory things, and the way they talk about things, it's just, they seem so excited by certain things. They don't care if it's true or not. And then when it's proven not to, they just move on to the next thing rather than being measured and objective. It doesn't change what the truth is, right? So if someone's a murderer, nothing's changing that. Don't you only want fact? I don't get it. In my other video, I'm talking about, okay, now his hands are probably very clean because he would have had quite he's been in a hotel room, maybe having a little soak in a tubby wubby. Or, a nice hot shower in the hotel room. But Morphew's hands, I only have my phone. I haven't got a big screen or software to do anything. But his hands, I can't see the marks. Of course, we don't get to see his arm. It's under the flannel shirt. But both hands, I took screenshot after screenshot. I can't see these marks on his knuckles that appeared later. And people are questioning, did Barry see this photo of Suzanne sent to Jeff Libbler? Do you know what? It would seem like, okay, if he did, it would seem that would have been the catalyst, right? The final straw. However, I can't shake the feeling that Barry Morphew was looking for Suzanne's phone. I can see him pulling at rocks, trying to find a phone in a creek, for example, in the South Arkansas River or the creek coming from the Fooses waterway. Because I've always felt like he's looking for something, right? Beyond, okay, looking for Suzanne. It's like he's looking for something. And I've wondered if that's the phone. Because it's hard to tell, in the Tyson Draper video, etc., what stage of healing the wounds are at. And Would they have been a little more healed if that happened on the 9th or 10th of September, of May? But it's interesting, right? So we need to know when these photos were taken, particularly of the arm. That's the interesting one, right? But, well, you know, it's interesting because it's some lines. But I don't think photos were taken that night or the next day. I think it's days later. After Morphew is known, he's definitely gone searching the wilderness. He's pulling the wilderness apart in probably his very chaotic way, right? In his caveman way. And I just can't see that on that night, the Sunday night, his hands look like this. You know, just regular old hands. But even because, think about it too, because if you're saying that it was the afternoon before, we've got over 24 hours, those marks would be there. It's not like they're still coming up. The grazed skin would be showing, the bruising would be showing, and it's not there. So I think you have to take these meaty hands off the table as far as sort of what happened to Suzanne, you know, Saturday or even Sunday. Is there a moving of the body, etc., days later, or covering or something? That's very risky, isn't it? That's very risky. But looking for something that's missing, yeah, you'd just be tearing things apart. And he did come up out of that river, cold, shirtless, wet. And that seemed to me, maybe that's good timing for marking up of the hands, because it was the next day, was it, that Tyson actually got his interview with Barry. And that would be about the time frame for how those hands looked. The bruising, it looked purple to me, which is the first coloration of a bruise. The sores, like the ruined skin, looked fresh but not immediate. It looked like, yeah, the next day kind of thing, you know, when things starts come up a little weepy, you know, 12, 24 hours later. I think that's when he damaged his hands. What was he doing? God, this has rambled on long enough, hasn't it? I'm really saying nothing. I've got a migraine headache. I'll go. What else did I want to say? So many things. Yeah, so it was AK Rocks. I don't know. I think, did the footage have to be purchased or something? I'm not sure. Thank you to AK Rocks, because that's where I watched it. I think it's elsewhere though. And Daniel Donovan, yeah, I saw your smart little comments. And Daniel, I made videos about you calling out your trolling of me. I made very brief of it. You said she made so many videos about me. I know. You know what? You're obsessed with me, just as Maureen Walsh and people like that. You're fucking obsessed with me. Just drop it. I made a video calling out your trolling and your nastiness, okay? Because you kept spamming my channel with, you know, what could have been, it was hundreds of comments. It could have been 1,000 comments. And you made sock account after sock account after sock account after sock account, right? How many did you make? I probably blocked 8 or 9. You just couldn't, you just spent so much time doing it, and you wanted to make my life miserable, but you don't like someone telling people about it. Yeah. Anyway, you're not worth saying anything more about than that.